Slam, support life and music.
All right, what's up, everyone? Jack Mangan here. So you think you can tell? The lighting is a little weird, but that's all right. We're here. This is the season finale for season one of the Slam Music Survival Guides. We started out with a different name. We called them Slam Summits for the first couple. We have a much better name now. But anyway, we're not going to wrap out the season just by yammering aimlessly. I'm going to turn things over to my lovely co-host over there with the most from the West Coast. There you go. I'm on a roll. Mark Pruett. Good to see
Is,
you, Mark.
is this all a part of my official bio?
Yes. Yes.
I turned down my lights a little bit to match the campfire aesthetic. I'm just let's kind of get into the groove. Um, well, you know what? This episode is about you, and what I really wanted to do is I wanted to take a moment. How many episodes deep are we into season one? Is it 52, 53, 54?
This should be 55. Yes, this should be number 55.
Okay, well, I
So
turned 55 in 3 days. So 55 for 55, I'm with it. So here we go. I wanted to pitch you an episode where we close the chapter on this first run of shows, but I wanted to delve deeper into you because I think that there's a lot of things that people don't know about Slam and where Slam came from and a little bit about you because you are the mastermind. And you know what? There are other people that are behind the scenes. Um, it's not my goal to make you cry, but it would certainly be very Oprah-esque if I could get you to shed a tear or if you got a white couch you want to jump on, we can certainly do that. And if you want to proclaim your love for anyone particular, I am totally fine with that because it's gonna make for a great interview.
should I check under my seat for car keys or something?
It's not car keys, it's ticking. So, Jack, you and I met at another venue, and you and I started talking, and we realized that we had a lot of similar views. And then I was pretty honored because you approached me at one point and you said, "Hey, you know what? I've got this pie in the sky idea. I'd really love to do this, and I'd really love to have you be a part of this." And of course, I was a little hesitant at first. Is that right? Is that you had to really sort of twist my arm. I
That's
didn't
not how I
say,
remember the story, actually. But go on. I'm enjoying the story. So go
yeah,
on.
well, the story really is that it was your first time in prison, it was my third time, and that's how we met.
That's right. Yes, we have the same tattoos in the same spot. It's very yeah. It's a brotherhood.
Little lower is where the tattoos are. Um, I think let's go back to the beginning when you sort of hatched the idea for this. And so where did the idea for Slam come from?
The idea kind of, it, I wish I had a better story for it, but it really is just it's this thing that has been a part of the fabric of our society and about our for our musicians. Um, you know, shoot, I'm spacing on the guy's name. There's a great write up on a great feature about the guy in Ken Burns Jazz. Very first jazz, the guy who's considered the very first jazz musician died young in a sanitarium after, after basically drinking himself into a disaster. It's for so long we've lost so many people and so many. It's been so romanticized. The Jim Morrisons, the Jimi Hendrix is the name I mentioned a lot, and I don't want to use any of these people's fame or notoriety in vain. I don't want to try and capitalize on their tragedy. That's the last thing we want to do. But I I remember Elliott Smith just being like, just being absolutely heartbroken to find out what had happened to him.
Yeah.
Peter Steele later on, Peter Steele didn't end his own life, but his demons were definitely ever present in his life. So we've lost too many musicians, and we've seen too many musicians suffer due to just the difficulties of this lifestyle, and it's too much. It's taken for granted, and I just felt like something needed to be done about it. And I'll be honest, in the early days of talking about it, both the encouragement I got from people in the music industry, the first time I went to NAMM and just talked about this, when the idea was still kind of still nebulous, people were just immediately grasped on and said, "Oh my gosh, yes, this needs to happen. We need this." But even the negative talk, even the kind of the people, the doubters, that even strengthened my resolve because it made me it recognized kind of what I said is that people don't acknowledge that this is a real problem for a real community that's a community at risk, a community that's a vital community, a community of creative um, musicians and songwriters and people who just bring us this vital thing that we absolutely need. We wouldn't have society if music collapsed. So the people who are making it are living hard. Their lives are harder than necessary, and there's not a whole lot there. So that's like I said, it wasn't like a eureka moment. That's kind of where it came from. I mean, there's more to the story, but I think that's the essential truth of what you're looking for.
I think that that's a eureka moment, and I don't know that I've in the time that I've partnered with you on this, I don't know that there's ever been a time that I've encountered someone that's been like, nah, like that's not a worthwhile endeavor. I mean, I think we've had our fair share of, well, how many followers do you have? Or we've had our fair share of a lot of other sort of things that have come our way that we knew would be sort of things that we would have to get through. But, I think for the most part, the people that seem to have shied away from us or the people that have said, and again, I mean, my analysis, and you can certainly correct me on this. I mean, I think that there's a stripe of people don't want to be that vulnerable. Because I mean, we've had people on who have been sort of very straightforward and very vulnerable about stuff. And we've even had people on that I think have been perhaps a little guarded, but as vulnerable as they could be sort of in the moment. And I'm sure that there were more things sort of in their back pocket that they could have talked about that would have made a difference. So it's interesting to me that you sort of have more experience with the flat out of no, I just don't think that that's going to work. That's interesting.
Well, and one more quick point on this. This one thing you guys watching, Mark and I are masters of tangents, so we'll have to keep it reeled in. But people, we have also encountered resistance. In the early days, we were really leaning in on suicide prevention, and that word really puts everyone's guard up. And
Sure,
we've had a lot of people who otherwise probably would have come on and talked about mental health issues and the hardships of the road and the business of this as a career. But when you throw the word suicide out there, people immediately say, "I'm out. I don't want to be involved." And so I wouldn't say that our approach has changed. Our mission is to protect musicians. Our mission is to keep musicians healthy and alive and mentally in an okay spot. But we've dialed back a little bit on that language just because we're going to lose people and we're going to lose
sure.
quality message and quality outreach by leaning in on that. So I think it's also better for the organization, for our mission anyway, to kind of just broaden it to depression, substance misuse, and all of the above. So anyway, that's me stopping my tangent.
Fair enough. You and I are the king of tangents, so let's keep on keeping on because
That's my soul up there.
hope
Oh, sorry.
hopefully I want to leave time if you want to ask me any questions. But I have a really important question. We have an incredibly diverse panel of people that sit on the board. I don't think that that happens by accident. So tell me about how the board came together.
Yeah, that's just a wonderful group of people. I'm blessed with a lot of good people and a lot of good friends. And people have come and gone. So sometimes people have stepped away, and no one stepped away because of a problem. Everyone stepped away. The people who stepped away have said personal life blowing up, or got a new job that's taken up all of my focus. So yeah, so we've got, well, I mean, everyone, we've got Mark. The reason why I really approached you before I even knew you well. I know you're a good guy, man. You really are. I'm not, see, I said I wasn't going to cry, but aside from being a cool guy, that's not qualifier enough. Like, you know your stuff. You know music really well. You have a passion for music, and I'd read your writing. I mean, I knew you were really an excellent writer. And actually, the story was that when I approached Mark, I said I'd love to if you do some writing, and Mark was like, I want to go beyond that. I want to really lean in and really participate. So Mark is just, that's, again, that's how we met through the music industry. You and I met. I got been friends for a long time with Evo Terra and his wife Sheila and one, and he's, they're fantastic people, they're very passionate people, and just really they're always in the cutting edge. They're the people who introduced me to so many things that we take for granted. Twitter, back when there was like 1,000 of us on Twitter, podcasting when there were like 1,000 of us podcasting, just really brilliant people. I always brag about that Evo's he's been inducted into the Podcasting Hall of Fame. Absolutely worthy. So Sarah Hyde is someone I had worked with who's not in the music industry, but just brilliant with ideas and business and data, and just really knows what she's talking about. One of the best people in the entire music industry is Jack Frost. Just an amazing guitar player, but being a great guitar player is not enough to get you on the board. He's, really just a great, universally beloved guy in the music industry, and just knows lots of contacts and lots of passion. And then, Eric Haley has been kind of my partner in crime with this all along. He's there to bounce ideas off of in the first place. He and I talked about the earliest iterative ideas of what slam would be, even before it was called slam. So I think that's the whole board. Am I missing someone? That would be awful if I am overlooking someone. Oh crap. Yeah. So, and then Dr. Carolyn Kavanaugh Toft is also, she's been on a couple of episodes. She's a psychologist. I mean, she's qualified to talk about this stuff in ways that the rest of us are not. So she's an invaluable member of our community too. It's a little more quiet. That's why that's my excuse for leaving her for last and almost missing it.
I wasn't going to let you forget her, but I think the message is that we have such a diversity of skill sets that look, it's obvious that, the survival guide, the summit, is a very sort of forward-facing piece of the puzzle, but there's so much that goes on in the background, and the administrative work that you're doing, or the administrative work that other folks are doing, or um, you know, what's one of the other things that we put out into the industry that's not front-facing like this?
Oh, is that my cue? Oh, well, for example, we do our dream reports, which
There you
are
go.
actually our front facing, actually. That's something that is we publish data reports. We had been doing it monthly, just announcing it here. We're scaling back, not quite monthly, but there'll still be many that come out per year. Four to six per year. Just adding value in a space where there's not a whole lot. That it's a little bit of a dearth of information, and done it in this way, where we're gathering data, doing data analysis, and publishing reports to talk about the different subjects. The newest one that comes out in March is on writing. It's on, Neil Giraldo, when we talked to him, that's probably where the idea came from. He talked about just writing your thoughts out. We're doing writing every day, and then other folks who've had on have talked about it. So that's something else we do. Without going on a tangent on that, the dream reports, it's data, research, education, awareness, and music.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to position that it's not something that's front of house. It just has a different profile for us, right? A video is just such an approachable media medium for, the two of us, and, having a guest and sort of talking through that. But there's so much more that goes into the idea of you're doing a report, and you're crafting insights, and you're bringing something to the table from that perspective. And I meant that to be, like, the profile of Slam is definitely far more well-rounded. I love this piece because this is the piece that I'm sort of directly involved with. But my point was to make sure that we're pointing out that there are far more academic parts of the process of SLAM that we want people to understand of how we are contributing and giving back to the industry, how we're just getting started, really, I think from that perspective.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'll throw really quickly what has been our quietest of our three programs has been that we have resources available on the website. So if you're in saying I'm kind of in need now, I need help, I need to speak with a professional, that's available through our website. And that's something that's developing. That's something that will develop more and more as we grow up.
Yeah, I think that that's a tremendous opportunity for us and for some of the resources that are readily available. I mean, there's apps on your phone, and I think if we could do something to sort of bridge that gap, and we could do a hell of a lot more to address a lot of the crises that happen, or the things that are going on with musicians and artists, and the really tough things that they face.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. And actually, I would say there's an organization who are doing fantastic work. They've been brought up by guests on our show, and I've, been in touch with them. There's an organization called Backline, which has a lot of great stuff. They're not a competitor of ours in any way. They also are, oh, they're acknowledging and addressing the same problem, just in a different way. So my hat is off to them. Not literally, but yeah, my hat is off to Backline too for the work they do.
Well, and partnerships. I mean, none of us as strong as all of us. So I think, the more we shine a light on this, the better off that we're going to be. Okay. So for 54 episodes, there's the light, shine a light. Um, we have we have been sort of serious, but I know you and I have sort of these um great funny conversations off the and I don't want that to sort of be lost in the mix. You and I are having a very serious conversation, but it's like you and I have formed a very intense friendship being co-hosts of these things. Sometimes you do them, or sometimes I tag along, and we've had a lot of great experience. And I appreciate the kind words that you said about my work. I sort, it was kind of like, you want me to write for you? Okay, great. Sure. You like what I write? Really? Okay, cool. So let's change gears a little bit, right? Let's talk a little bit about um some of the 54 episodes, because I think there have been some absolutely unforgettable moments. So I'm gonna tap into the vast catalog of episodes that we have done either together or solo. What are some highlights for you from the podcast?
I have a couple, but I've done as I want to hear at least one of your answers first before I name a couple of mine.
Hi, I'm Burton C. Bell here with S.L.A.M with Jack Mangan and Dave Ellefson.
Hey everybody, David Allison here, and you should support S.L.A.M.
I've got a few. Um, I think what comes to mind first is someone with the stature of Neil Giraldo. I've been very fortunate to work with Neil on a handful of occasions over the last few years, as a part of, my role at Whiskey Network and with their brand, um, Three Chord Bourbon. And I was pretty stoked when he said that he would come on for us. I mean, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, what is it, 45 million records. And there is zero pretense when it comes to Neil Giraldo. Like, Neil Giraldo just comes into the room and is as genuine as possible. And him telling that story about literally being on the road on the highway and almost running into a car that they barely saw at the last minute, and a drunk guy was at the wheel. Like, obviously it was a different time. Times are very different, but if you stop and think about that and you think about the implications of that, like, you know, uh, uh, another turn of it and life could have been very different. He has led an existence that just it boggles the mind, the achievement that he has associated with him. And it's funny because over the last few years I've talked to him, he revealed to me the first time that I interviewed him that he was working on a Christmas album. So this has become like a perennial kind of poke in the ribs between Neil and I. And it comes out in the interview at this point, I'm just like, when the hell is this thing coming out? Because he wants to write and produce and play a Christmas record, and the answer is the same every time. It makes me laugh. Oh, I'm almost there. Like I'm ready to play on it. I'm ready to release it. And Christmas came and went, and we didn't have a Neil Giraldo Christmas record. Um, I am by no means poking fun at him. We still have a very cordial and a professional relationship, but I think that it's quirks like that. Somebody that is so driven and so, regimented in the things that they do, and the Christmas record's still sitting on the shelf. So that to me is a moment that sticks out. Um, a good friend of mine, George Edert from Elder. They've got a new album coming out here later in 2026. Him coming on board and him talking about things, just a completely different perspective, with the gentleman from Gustav Berling Saga, and bringing two people together that otherwise never would have met and never would have, like peripherally understood the existence of one another, but there's some amazing parallels into the style of music that they play. But I have a ton of respect for George. I saw George just a couple of months ago. We had a great dinner together, and a very sort of real view, right? And juxtapose somebody like Neil Giraldo, you know, does everything first class, everything is, there's a lot of coverage versus someone, you know, I think Elder is 10 or 11 albums in at this point, and they're fighting for recognition in the space. 2 years ago, they toured with Tool. So just fantastic insights and a great moment, an artist who is just sort of on the cusp and the things that they experience. And you hear so many stories about, oh, so and so took us out on tour and they didn't talk to us, or they're just different things like that, where
Yeah.
Tool was like totally cool to them, and we're like, oh yeah, like let us show you the ropes on a couple of things, or let us talk to you about a couple of things. That George is a drummer, and I was when I saw George a couple of months ago, I was joking with him, and I said, "So is your drum kit going to get bigger? Is you going to have a Danny Carey sized drum kit on tour?" And he says, "Well, it may grow by a couple of different pieces, but I think that that's the cool aspect of it is that um, you can get sort of these snapshots into sort of very unique perspectives. And how the hell does someone like that keep their head screwed on straight, right? It's like literally get in a van and drive around till the wheels fall off of it. It's a pretty crazy
Mhm.
existence. And if you'll indulge me, I have one more. And it's the new wave of traditional heavy metal singers episode. It's Tyler Heath of
Yeah.
Regiment and Leather Duchess. It's Vlad the Inhaler from Persecutor, and one of my personal favorites, James Paul Luna from Entranced. That I write about that part of metal so much, and it is so cool because it's totally underground. It's like metal going back even before sort of the Sunset Strip explosion. and it's in the underground. People are trading tapes or CDs, or they're sending files to one another. And, like there's a modicum of success here. Like these people have done mounted tours that have either been in the United States or entranced as, and I believe Persecutor have gone over to Europe. And it's like picking up all your stuff and all your band stuff and going over to Europe and playing the clubs in Europe and playing festivals where you can. Like, I don't even know if I could plan a vacation to go to Europe and have all of my stuff together, much less get logistics off the ground to go on tour and headline dates in all of these clubs. And these guys
Right.
do a hell of a job, and these guys keep it in perspective. That is an amazing episode, and I go back to Vlad the Inhaler, and he's like, I'm not a singer. I'm an entertainer. And I thought that that was just such an astute observation on his part. And I've seen that band live a handful of times. And when I think about it, it's it's actually true. It's pretty amazing because I've seen the other bands and those guys are singers and no slight to Vlad, but um like he gets it. They're all kind of entertainers and they all sort of understand that. But he just provided sort of that keen understanding. And I think the other insight was, you know, to a certain extent, I'm paraphrasing and forgive me for using bad language, but he's like, I just don't give a fuck what other people think. And that was sort of another astute observation of, sort of the renegade underground mentality. And I love that. I love the ability to shine a light on that because I think that that's really important because there's a ton of bands, whether it's new wave of traditional heavy metal or whether it's whatever else, something that's popular or something that's different. Everybody's experiencing the same thing.
Yes. Great answers, man. I loved every second of that. And I'll say just as a quick note on the one with the three lead singers with who were all three of them were fantastic guests, but you got
100%.
props and extra credit to Vlad for coming in costume. He had on his mask and keeping up, staying in character, and
Yes,
then just amazing. Um,
100%.
yeah. So I mean that's hard to follow. So I'll kind of be quick about it, but I'm going to give the
Take your
cop
time.
out but true answer is that honestly all 54 have moments that I loved. I really do love every single episode of this, and I've been around podcasting since basically the beginning. Not the beginning. Keep your shirts on, but like since the early days, and I've been through some doldrums and some rough stretches of episodes, but I've really every single one of these episodes has something to, maybe except for this one. This one's fucking boring as hell. But all the previous 54 were really entertaining and excellent. In each one, there's some gold. And so let me talk about some of the just I'll go really quickly on the highlights. We'll go back. So it was fantastic talking to Professor Elemental, who's someone I've been listening to forever. He's a huge hero of mine. We did a little kind of joking intro where I was looking to speak to his orangutan butler instead of him, and he really played it off perfectly, just beautifully. And he's like, "Oh, this interview is a disaster." It was really just a magic moment. It was really magical. Monique from Save Ferris, who I've been around and listening to since the 90s. And I appreciate that band much more now than when I was a 20-something knucklehead in the 90s. But, just she's just brilliant. Um, some milestones, like you said, the Neil Giraldo is a huge milestone because of who he is. I mean, and because of his insight also, not just because he's, Mr. Famous kind of going through and waving with his hand and great. No, he had great, fantastic stories, fantastic insights. DMC, of course, is on that level of fame and influence and power, and the fact that he was so passionate about the subject, just an amazing conversation. Like I said, we've had so many. I hate to leave anyone out. There's just been so many great ones. So some other great moments. I've got to say we got a lot of attention early on when we did what you talked about. We paired David Ellefson and Burton C. Bell, both of them recently dismissed from high-profile bands. There'd been some ugliness in the press during their dismissal, but both of them were absolute professionals. Both of them were absolutely gentlemen. Like, for example, if David Ellison, was talking about his past in Megadeth, if Dave Mustaine were to watch that episode, I don't think Dave Mustaine would have any beef. I don't think he could reasonably have any beef with anything that was said because I think David Ellison, and of course I know the two of them have been butting heads for decades, but
Sure.
and maybe David Ellison did manage to get in like a little dig between, that was private between the two of them. But I'm saying what I felt like it was all on the up above board. Same with Burton C. Bell. I think took no shots at Fear Factory in that episode. So I was really happy with their insights were just fantastic. But the one I go back to a lot is actually speaking of someone who's in a controversial moment. Mark Lopes is currently, currently we're recording in early 2026, so there's been a fair amount of press about Mark Lopes and a few other
Hmm.
guys being dismissed from Metal Church, and you know, but that's not what we're talking about. I spoke with him in early 2025, and he just told this amazing story in the episode about how he came really close to just attempting suicide. And the story is just, I had on the amazing Erica Lynn Shaw. So Erica, if you're watching, we gotta have you back on. She was my co-host, and again, you could hear a pin drop. The both of us are like we're holding our breath listening to Mark tell the
Yeah.
story. And he gave a quote that I've repeated since, that was our second episode. And he gave a quote that I've been repeating as long as Slam has been around, basically. He's been saying, I hope musicians hear this and know they're not alone. And he also said something also wonderfully saying, I don't really get a chance to talk about this kind of stuff. And that's when we had that early conversation with Mark Lopes, not Mark Pruett. When I had that early conversation with Mark Lopes, it kind of just made me, that was my very first moment of going, yeah, this is right. Slam is
Hmm.
absolutely right. It's not that I started this thing with doubts, but it's just one of those moments of just validation. Like this is something that the world needs, that the music needs, musicians need. Um, and that I was thrilled to hear in one of my favorite episodes of all 54 favorite episodes when we had Jason McMaster and Farhad Hussein and Sabrina Cruz from Dangerous Toys, Schumann, and Seven Kingdoms, respectively.
Yep.
I didn't say much. The three of them just took off and just it was a wonderful episode. We went going for like 90 minutes, and at one point, Jason McMaster said, "This is really therapeutic," and it just again, it's one of those things that's just made me go, "This is the validation that that we need. That this is a necessary thing that we're doing for the music industry, and we can intend to continue doing it. I mean, this is just something that is needed in the world." That was a long answer, but there you go.
No, I think it's great, and I have mad respect for every single one of the people that you mentioned. I'll give personal props to Burton C. Bell. I was actually at there's a small venue here in Los Angeles, and it was his first concert kind of back, right? He had a new single that he had put out, and there was crazy energy in the room. I mean, it was electric. It was something that was so amazing, and it was cool. It just felt like he exercised a lot of demons that night. He got a big monkey off of his back that night, and since then he has taken off. He has really taken off, and things are definitely looking up for him.
And he's
Second,
working with Pamela. I'm going to interrupt, so I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah,
He's working
yeah,
with Pamela Parks now, who's one of our favorite people too. She's
100%.
she's done so much for this for our cause. Even if Slam didn't exist, I think she's still a force for good. But she's been just so wonderful for Slam. So and that is just that pairing is dangerously powerful. Burton C. Bell and Pamela Parks together. That's it. So that was my interruption.
No, I think that that's great, and I absolutely positively wish Burton nothing but the best. I want to see him rise, and I want to see him, continue to do great things. Um, on my wish list for 2026, someone that is near and dear to my heart is Jason McMaster. I'm I'm still mad at you for not bringing me in on that episode, but then it would have been just Mark worshiping Jason, so you probably did the right thing. I want to see 2026 season two. I want to see an episode dedicated to Jason McMaster. It is phenomenal. It's unbelievable how much he's doing. The man doesn't stop working. Um, and it's like, I did an interview for him for another outlet, and we went on for 90 plus minutes, and we could have gone on for forever more. So it's just kind of cool to be with someone that's that much of a fan. But you know what? He's lived some life, that happens. So um I want to throw a curveball at you. I didn't tell you that I was going to ask this question. And I want you to ask me the question back. You and I have done this now for, let's just call it a year. You're a year plus. I'm a year into this. And in that span of time, you and I have gone through some shit personally. I'm not I'm not outing what any of those things are. But it's like this thing that we talk about. We talk about how do you cope with stuff? How do you cope with shit going down in your life? And how do you cope with you've got responsibilities and you've got things that you need to live up to, but then something happens and something sort of taps into that. What I'm genuinely curious about is what was how do you think you handled what you went through a little bit differently with the benefit of so many great conversations that you had with the people that we've talked to for S.L.A.M?
Well, okay. You're making me nervous for a second there. All right, I think I can handle this one.
I don't want to talk about our time in prison together.
Yeah, I still got the tattoo still stings.
You keep on slamming because it's a matter of life and death. And by doing this, you are saving so many lives.
So having something like S.L.A.M to be that kind of a resource.
I am Vern C. Bell here with S.L.A.M with Jack Mangan.
There's a great organization out there. It's called Support Life and Music.
S.L.A.M. Da 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 da.
S.L.A.M, Support Life and Music. I'm my friend Jack Mangan.
When you told me what you were doing, I was really on board with it, and I really want to support it because it's close to my heart.
Please support S.L.A.M because everybody needs a hand up every once in a while, and this organization is the right one to do the job.
I think what you're doing is great with your organization and trying to address it.
S.L.A.M. Support life and music.
Everybody, David Olson here, and you should support S.L.A.M.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know what? That is truly a great question. In fact, I've talked to personal friends about this, and I've thought about some of the advice that some of our folks have given. A name I failed to drop earlier, Jarvis Leatherby, had some fantastic,
Yep.
just a brilliant approach to how to kind of cope with the hardships of life. So yeah, there's been some. I think it has strengthened me a little bit. Sure, I think it has. I guess that's as I'm not going to drop like a Barbara Walters kind of insight on you, but I think it's absolutely these conversations and staying in this headspace without without going spiraling into this headspace, but by kind of being in this and knowing the things that you need to do. And it's also have been a good way to help me to remember that, no matter what you're going through, it is temporary, no matter what it is, and people are very distraught about the state of the world right now in 2026. Fucking obviously. I mean, come on. But
Sure, yeah.
But and that's causing personal anxiety and personal depression and personal fear for people's lives. But it's just I've learned. I think I've picked. The message has kind of been driven home. And a lot of the messages are messages that you knew when you were a teenager, but it's still good to hear them. Good to hear people say them. Good to hear people put their spin on them to help you refine your view on it. So I think it has helped me to kind of see the current things as temporary, whatever the current thing is, see it as temporary, and just have good exercises to kind of walk through it and also and not fall behind on the things that need to be done, and also not to panic when they do get behind. So I think that's something I will credit certainly the slam conversations we've had. All right, and Mark, same question to you. How have you benefited from the mental health lessons of these conversations in these slam episodes?
I think the first thing is the recognition part. And I think that I'll connect this back to the new wave of traditional heavy metal singers conversation that we had, that someone identified in that conversation. You gotta know when the warning light is blinking. And I think that's my personal experience. There was absolutely a moment in time where I kind of sat there and I went, yeah, uh, I I'm in trouble here. Like this is, what I went through is sort of the physical recovery, but what I went through is the mental recovery that sort of goes after that, and the serious nature of touching your mortality, right? That is not something to fuck around with. And then you go back to something, from the true, it's like I think about that Neil Giraldo conversation and I just go like, wow, like he's just got it dialed in. And his whole point to the conversation was, what is your focus? What is your focus on? And you're right. There's times where you have to step back, and that's absolutely what it is that I did. But in spite of that sort of deep emotional turmoil that you go through, you have to sort of champion back. What is your focus? Why why are you why are you here? What are the things that you do? And what are you doing to give back in some ways? For the most part, and something that hasn't been said between you and I here in this moment, a lot of what's been connected is sometimes the cure is being selfless. And sometimes the cure is being selfish, knowing when you have to take care of yourself. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, right, service as a beneficial thing. I will say also, I'm glad you reminded me. Probably the most powerful episode we did is one I got a lot of as well. It's the guy from the band called The Reticent, Chris Hathcock, who's really well versed and really intelligent on a doctorate level. Even he's a musician. He's not a psychologist, psychiatrist, but he spoke about this so powerful. That's the one episode where I was wiping at my eyes as we're recording. Like I'm a very stoic, very Spock, Mr. Spock kind of Vulcan kind of guy, but I was he really just cut right through and his understanding and the way he described it. But again, it wasn't just it wasn't negative at all. There's a lot of great perspective in it. A lot, and everything you just said really brought that one to mind. And I'd be really remiss to not name that one before we're done here.
In truth, I agree. I think some of the things that, I tried to sort of do or to talk about, in the beginning, I don't think we sort of dialed it in, and I think that came on. But you know what? The purpose of giving back, giving me purpose and giving me sort of a hook, something to hang my hat on, as it were. You're wearing the hat and I'm not, but I giving me purpose in that time, along with other things that I did on my own time, led me out of a pretty dark place, and here 2026, on the other side of that, I'm happy to say that um, things are better. That's for sure, but there's some things that you just don't get over, but then there are other things where you recover with the lessons learned. And so I think, for me, growing professionally and doing these things, but also on the inside, doing a little bit of that hard work, like listening to what people say and internalizing that and using their experience to sort of cope in your own way. Um, Learn by doing. It's a fantastic thing, but yeah, I'm grateful to you. You did not have to take a chance on my half-baked plans, and I'm certainly grateful that for every 10 harebrained ideas that I threw at you, you know, we probably got through, 8 or 9 of them. And I'm sincerely grateful that you've been an amazing partner, and even your sort of friendship and um, the conversations that we have behind the scenes outside of making things run, just on a personal camaraderie level. I think it's been sort of fantastically therapeutic to sort of take my mind away from things and lead me sort of out of the darkness into the light.
All right, I had a snarky response loaded up, but that was really too genuine. So
Say it.
I
Say
will
it. Come
not.
on.
No, I will not.
Come
I'll not
on.
bring a
Say the
snark.
snarky response. That's
Well, the snark
that.
wasn't brilliant or anything. It was just going to be like, yeah, whatever. So that was going to be the snark. So like I said, it wasn't like a clever retort, but no, I mean,
Oh,
that was a genuine and an excellent moment, and I really appreciate it. And if I don't say it enough, I definitely appreciate all that you have brought. Yeah, I mean, Slam has grown in ways that it could not have without you. And again, yeah, on a personal level, like if we dissolve Slam, which we're not going to, if we just, I think you're a good friend, and I want to continue our friendship for sure. Drinking better whiskey next time we get together, but I do want to say a serious thing though is that a big part of what Slam is all about is, we're talking about this on a positive level, on a coping level, but there's a thing, and I don't want to dwell too much on this because also we've been talking for a long time, but it's an important point, and one of the reasons why Slam and professional mental health services are important is that there are people who can't really be reached quickly and easily. They're people you're not going to have a sit down with them and say, it's going to be okay. Let's get through this together. There's some people they're not going to believe you. They're still ready to go off the bridge, or whatever, whatever they have, whatever dark idea they have in mind. So that's something, we keep the tone light on these episodes so that they'll be entertaining and fun and educational and thought-provoking and illuminating. But we need to recognize that that's not the reality for a lot of people, for people who are there, for people who are that deep into their depression or their addiction, where they're just kind of going, yeah, that's great that you're saying all these nice things, and that's great, but not for me. I guess that's not where I am. So we want to just say that if that's you watching this now, if that's where you are, or if you know someone that's there, that is an unfortunate reality of this. So just we're going to persist. We're going to say, please stay with us, through this rough patch. Let us help you get the help, or find ways to get the help that you need, and see that that there are reasons to keep going, even if you don't see
well,
them or feel them right now.
I can speak only for myself, and I will grab onto what you've been saying, and it's the idea that this too shall pass. That you're gonna, let's get philosophical, right? Viktor Frankl, you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you react to it. All of us spend time in the gutter. Dreamers learn to look at the stars. There's your Rush lyric for the episode. Um, I think that there just has to be a spark within you that wants to do better, that wants to take those steps forward. And it is such a critical first step. The hardest thing is to ask for help. The hardest thing for me I can't speak for anyone else, but I am speaking into existence. My experience was number one, realizing it, but number two, having the wherewithal to ask for help. And there's no shame, there's no ridicule. I want people who are watching this to understand that even though, you and I sort of cut on each other or whatever, that's not what the episodes are. Yeah, we keep them lighthearted, but the point is people have to ask for help and they have to be comfortable in doing so. There is absolutely no shame in reaching out, raising your hand. I need help and I don't know what to do, because there's a fuck ton of people out there that are going to go, hey, I got you. I got you. Whether it's substance abuse, whether it's, your mental health in the moment, or whatever thing that you happen to be coping with. Um, there are tons and tons of people who have gone before you. And I would encourage everyone, as my own personal experience and the darkness that I have walked through, it's just one foot in front of the other, but you have to ask for help. And when you ask for help, it doesn't stop coming. It continues to sort of reveal itself to you. And the lessons just keep coming for you. So, look, I think people need to understand that slam has an evolving value. We are going through an evolution. And I think season two is going to be about that, right? How are we changing? Let's have those conversations. Let's talk about that. Yes, I love stories, and yes, I love hearing about all of that, but the underlying messages, you know, have hope for sure.
All right. So here this is kind of like a little placeholder, because this has been a very long episode, and it's good because it's a good conversation. As always, Mark, it's a good conversation. But I think we will also the next things we say will be chopped out as individual release segments, and they'll also be in this big one too. But I think we have two more important things to impart. You just hinted at one of them. So we have two kind of important things to announce for Slam for 2026. And like I said, we'll talk about them here. This will go out as this one big episode, but then they'll go out separately. But yeah, I don't want to take the reins. You're doing a great job with the reins. Is this too crazy and spooky for like an important announcement? Should I improve the lighting?
No, please play on the lighting, lean in a little bit so it illuminates your face. There you go.
Yes.
That's illuminating your neck, not your face.
And
There you go. That's what I'm
and when
looking
he
for.
came out of, there was no head on the body. Yeah, this is like campfire stories. All right. Um, all right. Here, I can slouch down a little. It's terrible posture. Actually, this is better, even though my posture, like, I'm glad you can't see the rest of me. All right. Anyway, this is nonsense. Go on, Mark. Please
No,
save us.
I look, I gave you the questions that I told you I was going to ask. I threw the curveball, and I think we both got out of it unscathed. I don't think either one of us knew what this episode would turn into, but I'm very happy that we covered what we covered, because the number one thing that I wanted people to understand is I want people to understand why you're sort of the mad scientist behind this, right? That I've never had sort of a venue, or I've never been able to sort of point at something for people to say, like, what the hell is this? And I wanted this episode to be that, for us to look back at the past 54 episodes and go, yeah, we did that. We did all of that. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent, and perfecto, all of the above. So that was the intent for this episode, and I think we did a good job of keeping it on the straight and narrow. The only thing that I think, if it's entirely possible, because I know that all of the episodes are like your children, do you have a number one favorite episode that you loved? Um, and then let's cut to the chase, man. What's happening in 2026 for us, and what's on deck?
Yeah, I mean it is really hard to name a favorite episode. I think all the ones I mentioned are are really just so powerful and special. And like I said, I like the Chris Hathcock conversation is one of my favorites because of how emotionally resonant it was. It was so much fun to be a fly on the wall listening to listening to Jason McMaster and Farhad and Selena just talking about and saying things about being a professional singer that I'd never occurred to me. Having talking to Vampiro, I didn't even mention that one. James Rivera, who also stayed in character with this vampire fangs in the whole conversation. There's just I'm gonna cop out. Sorry, Mark, I'm gonna cop out. There's just too many that are so great. They are kind of like children. I wouldn't say they're all equally. It's a 54-way tie for the best episode. I'll say that much. But it's been a great ride. I love something you said about season one. I'll say this one more time before we're done. Not even season one, year one for Slam is it was proof of concept, which is a business term, but it absolutely works. We proved the validity of our cause. We proved that we can deliver in the ways that we seek to deliver, and we've proven that there is something we can grow into a thriving organization that is able to sustain itself, and also able to continue to do good. And I mean that in proper grammar, to do good and to do well. So
Yeah.
that's my cop out answer. I do want to know. I do wish I'd been able. We're gonna have to do this again sometime where I kind of turn the tables and really interview you because I really want to get more into who Mark is. But I'll go ahead and answer that one, I guess. Since you threw it at me, I'll throw it back at you. I'll ping pong it back. Do you have a favorite episode? Clearly
I
not this one.
I do. I have a favorite episode.
This is Professor Elemental, and when I'm not bathing in gin or wrestling a swan for my fitness and health, I'm supporting Slam, and so should you. Cheers.
And it's someone that hasn't been mentioned yet. My favorite episode is Lorraine Lewis. Here's why. Lorraine Lewis doesn't give a fuck about anything. She does what she does. She knows why she's doing it, and she goes and she gets after it. Someone that is free with her mind, someone that is free with her body on her own terms, and does rock and roll, the way she wants to do it. Of the many people we have spoken with that have delivered significant knowledge, wisdom, entertainment, she was the total package. She gave us knowledge, she gave us entertainment, and she gave us some very serious wisdom. There were literally no holds barred with that episode. She talked freely about just about everything. And I swear, if I use it again, I'm probably gonna piss people off, but it's like the coolest thing that she ever said, just go on a hike or a walk. Dude, I put on my shoes and I go for a hike or a walk. I'm neither hot nor a girl, but what the fuck? Why not? Um, that episode really stands out because she was just she was so free. It was an open book. And that was one of those episodes where you and we didn't really have to do too much because she knew exactly what to do and she ran with it. And I loved every minute of it because, you know, she was basically like, you know what? All of my life, people have told me what I can do, and she's like, F you, like I'm gonna do what it is that I want to do. And I give her heaps of credit for just living her truth and being her. So Lorraine, hats off to you. I would have loved to have spoken with her directly. When we went to NAM and we were trying to kind of meet everybody, and I think that would have been great. But
I
again,
mean,
and
I got to see her face to face and talk to her face to face, and you give her a
yeah, I
hug.
hate
You mean
you.
like that? Like I
I
got
hate
to?
you. Yes,
Like
I
I got
hate
to
you.
talk to Lorraine
I
afterwards?
hate you.
Yes, I agree. Lorraine, yes, Mark is absolutely right. That is, and there's similar energy. You got to throw it out to Alison Rouse, who,
Yeah.
she's famous for being self-described groupie. Her stories, the no holds barred kind of thing. Same energy, but yeah, I agree. What you said was spot on. Lorraine is a one of a kind. She's absolutely a rock goddess, absolutely fantastic. And Allison, you are too. Fantastic episodes. And I should have. That's the problem. There are 54 brilliant
Sure.
conversations. So
Yeah,
that's
I
why.
not an either or, but that one just sticks out to me.
Yeah.
Hats off to Lorraine because she's like, "Hey guys, I gotta go because I gotta sign some of my pictures for my subscribers." And it's like more power to you, man. Do your
Yeah.
thing. And it's that kind of that is some very hard fought peace of mind for her from the things that she talked about, the things that she said. Go back and watch that episode. It's episode 50, I believe, and it was a big one for us for the big 50. Check that out because she just laid it all out there. Nothing to hide.
Yes. I love it. No, this is also something Mark does really well. He fills in where my brain goes dark. Marcus just fills in, on again, perfect example. And what a great detail, what a great episode. And you're right, that was the our 50th episode. So I'm
Yes,
glad, we had such a special conversation with such a special person, with such a great perspective on life and great lessons to be learned. Even
100%.
if you're not a hot girl, there are things you can learn from her on what to do.
I expect you to go on a hot girl walk tomorrow.
I will. I go on my hot girl walk. I need to do more hot girl walks. Um,
I go on a hot girl motorcycle ride every weekend. Is that okay?
we'll go to the judges. We'll get back to you on it. But
Well,
yeah,
uh, I think that this episode has been extremely revealing on both of our parts. Again, I think we have a very sort of unique partnership, and I am thankful for that. And I just want people to know sort of the inner machinations of what happens behind the scenes, at S.L.A.M. That S.L.A.M has this great sort of profile of the people that we've talked to, but there's also an incredibly powerful message. And at least again, speaking for myself, powerful messages and powerful lessons that I'm applying in my life and some of the shit that I'm going through. And so, there's value and there's benefit to the things that are being talked about. So I could think of no better way to end season one. So let's close the door on season one and we're gonna go for a small hiatus and then we're going to come back in 2026. And I think 2026 is going to be the sum total of all the learnings that Jack and I and everyone else involved have come from this. And it's going to be bigger and better in 26. So I, for one, am very excited and looking forward to what's happening. Jack, it is your organization. It is your dream. We are all supporting the cause, but I want you to have the final word on season one. Give it to me.
all right. Well, no, thank you again. You teed it up perfectly. Thank you. Really great work. I'm really grateful for everyone who's helped. Everyone inside the organization, everyone outside of the organization. Again, too many people to name, but I've had some great people who've sent me links. John Bambino's, of Indigo, a good friend of mine outside the music industry, but also he sent me so many wonderful bits of information. People really believe it. I'm grateful to everyone. I'm grateful, as I said, to everyone in house we named. I'm grateful, you touched on something that I'm glad you touched on, that we've gotten feedback saying these have really helped me. These are really, and people saying, I lost somebody in my life to suicide, and I'm so grateful for your show. And that just, it's incalculable what that means. So, yeah, I'm really proud of what we've done. I'm really proud of season one. I'm proud of everything we've done. I think, and just to be clear, I don't think Mark was being unclear, but this is a planned thing. We're going to do this in seasons. We're not just going to do week to week until the world comes to an end. We're going to do season two will be a lot shorter. Season two will not be 55 more episodes. It'll be a shorter season. It'll be something so that we can, it can do it be digestible. But I don't have, again, I'll leave the smarts and the insights to Mark and just say I'm very proud of what we've done. I'm proud of the impact we've had and a proof of concept that we can do this. And this is really just the beginning. I definitely do want to, before we're done, I know it's been a long one, but I do want to touch on what we got coming up for this year. I think, there are many really exciting things, but there are two giant things that we've got to talk about. One of them is, spoiler, season two. So if you're ready, Mark, let's go there. Let's go season two.
Bring it on. I know what I want to say, but you're the boss man, so give me yours.
All right, yeah, and then Mark will follow up on me. So season two is going to be. I mean, as much as we're talking crap and making it seem like we're going to outpace the Tonight Show and 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 Ted Lasso, it's going to be a lot. It is going to be in many ways more of the same great stuff that we did. We're not going to reinvent the wheel because I feel like we're onto something good. We're having really important, meaningful conversations. We're getting people like Bobby Blitz is another great episode. Where we don't often get Bobby Blitz talking about this kind of thing, and I think it's powerful. The fact that he came out and said, "Yeah, depression is a silent killer." Like amazing to get that out of Bobby Blitz. More of that in season two, for sure. We're gonna do a little bit better job hyping it up so you'll know who's coming instead of just surprise. We just had Neil Giraldo was just on. Check it out. You'll know it's coming, so you won't be able to. It'll be harder for you to miss it. Yeah, we have some incredible episodes recorded now that are gonna just wait for the off season. So another thing in the off season, keep an eye on the channel. Don't drop your subscription. We're going to continue to release some great moments from season one and other kind of short videos and things from season. Maybe not YouTube defined shorts, but there's going to be a lot coming up between now and season two. Um, Stay tuned for the release date, the launch of season two. I would say now we're looking at early fall, late summer for season two to launch, so it's not even a huge amount of time off. But as I said, I don't want to leave some of the things that we have recorded, the recordings we have right now that are not going out in season one. I don't want to leave those sitting for too long of a time. So that's my first thing about season two. Mark, turning it over to you.
Well, can I mention two things that we've been sort of talking about in the pipeline? And I only want to talk about them because I want to speak them into existence, but B, these are two episodes that are of the many topics that you and I have sort of thrown against the dartboard and said, yeah, that would be really great to get, you know, whether it's luck or whether it's skill that we're getting. That there's two specific episodes that I'm really looking forward to. The first episode, and I think that this is a real special one, is the Memphis Made episode. We've got some friends who are a part of the Memphis music scene, and I really want to bring that to life because I think that group of people has some great lessons, more of the same stuff like that. Second episode that I'm really sort of looking forward to is we did the new wave of traditional heavy metal singers episode. I want to do a Shredders episode, and I think we've got people online. Now we've got a ton of other things that have been in the works, but those are the two that I'm feeling really good about that were Memphis Made, I think, is ready to go, and I think Shredders is just on the edge. So I think that those, if you're into either one of those scenes, if you like rock and roll, if you like metal, you are absolutely going to love the people and the discussions that happen in those episodes. Was I
Well
not
stated,
supposed
yes,
to, was I
and
not
yeah.
supposed to say that? Did I let the cat out of the bag? Shit. Am I
No.
fired now? Am I fired now? Jesus.
All right, well, HR will be in touch. No, I mean, I'm looking forward to those episodes too. I thought you were going to mention another one, which I won't mention here, but I will say
No, what
we're
did
going
I
to pay
miss?
we're going to pay tribute to one
Oh,
of the
yes.
greatest musicians. Well, this is going to be the first of its kind, but we're going to pay tribute to one of the greatest musicians, the most influential musicians of all time, who unfortunately, through his demons, we lost him decades too young. Um, So yeah, we're going to pay tribute to him in ways that it's not going to be just your typical episode. It's going to be something pretty special. So we're working. That's in the works. All right. Well, there's something very exciting. That's our plan is to kick off season two. It'll be an early in season two, regardless, for the Slam Music Survival Guide. I think it's going to be a big deal in the music industry. Honestly, I'm going to hype it up a little bit. Sitting here as a disembodied floating head here in the light. I'm even sitting up now. So there's going to be an amazing thing coming up for Slam in 2026. We're going to do the first annual Slam Awards. where we're going to pay tribute and give recognition where it is sorely needed to the people who are out there on the front lines who are not getting the recognition they deserve for this cause, for helping musician mental health. For musician mental health is such a taboo subject, and there's so many people struggling, and there's a lot of dismissal about the need for this effort. But at the same token, there are people who are doing an amazing job, who are going to get trophies from us, and we're going to do a special awards ceremony to recognize those people. So it's going to be in the summer of S.L.A.M. Keep an eye out for the S.L.A.M Awards this summer. I don't know if you had any other comment on that, Mark, but that's another huge thing that I'm looking forward to for S.L.A.M in 2026.
I cannot wait to birth that project. I think that's going to be really fascinating, but it's going to be very rewarding to call out these people for doing something amazing, for not for us, but for the industry itself, for what they're doing to give back, to give the roadmap, to pay forward their experience so that other people can benefit from that. The people that we have planned on being involved can't let the cat out of the bag just yet, but I can't wait for, all of the just the great stuff that's going to come out of that, and the people that we want to share with everyone out there. Going to be fantastic. Going to be an awesome time, and I can't wait for that. That's I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag, but I had to get those other two off of my chest because I know those are near and dear to my heart, but this one is so much bigger than that, right? It's so much bigger than S.L.A.M. It's people out there, who are living and breathing it versus, sort of you and I kind of asking questions or reporting on it. But I mean, you and I have also lived it as well. So yes, very, very well said. Looking forward to it, and I can't wait because I think that that's just going to be an incredible kickoff for us here in 2026.
Agreed. All right. Well, I will say, I guess my closing remarks will be well, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone who's helped S.L.A.M in any way, whether it's been with a contribution. Financial contributions are what keeps us as a solvent thing. We can't do it if we don't have financial stability to the organization. At best, it will be like a fun podcast that releases if there's no money rolling in. So the financial help has really been key. Obviously, we're a young organization. We need more, but that's in the works as well. That's not exciting to talk about, so we won't. Thank you, everyone who's helped in every way, and thank you, everyone on the board. Everyone who's kind of come and gone, helping out on the S.L.A.M Advisory Council is the legal name for it. And thank you, Mark. Thank you for everything you've done, man. Everything you've done to help boost S.L.A.M and get us where we are. I really can't say enough. I really appreciate everything you've done and for doing this episode. I know it's been long, so thank you guys for watching. If you watch enough of these, you know that I'm always aware of the time of things, but I've enjoyed every second of this conversation.
You don't have a publicist, so I can talk to you as long as I want.
That's true. Yeah, I have another interview coming up in 2 minutes.
So let's call them out: Eric, Evo, Dr. Sheila, Sarah, Jack, and Dr. Carolyn. They don't get enough of their names said in all of this. It's not just you and I on the front of this. It's all of us together on that front line, and I want to make sure we say their names and celebrate their contributions because they are very much a part of this, if not a bigger piece of the puzzle than just you and I. So great way to end it. Appreciate your time, Jack. Appreciate your candor and appreciate your vision. So let's go forward in 2026.
Sounds good. 2026.
Keep it metal.